watching the Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for tuning in. Now, prepare to say goodbye to junk food. At least that's what the government wants. The government has, in its way, found a way to clip your bag of chips, that favorite burger, or your gulab jamuns. The centre is considering a proposal to levy what they're calling a fat tax on junk food, which basically means things that are high on sugar, high on salt, things that will make you obese and will make you sick over a period of time from excessive consumption will become more expensive. Now, this is just a proposal that is being tabled before the government, but it's also a good time for us to talk about it and to let the government know how we feel. Amita Balachandra has this special report.
Double cheeseburger with your favorite French fries. Sounds yum? Maybe not, when you hear how much it will cost. In a bid to curb India's increasing waistline, the centre is proposing a nationwide fat tax.
There is no specific recommendation in terms of what kind of food can be included in that taxation. The report is already with the Government of India, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare.
The government action comes on the back of an alarming rise in diabetics and heart patients in the country. Look at the numbers. Every year, nearly 5.8 million Indians die of heart and lung diseases, cancer and diabetes. A WHO report says that the number of obese and overweight children has doubled since 1990 to 10.3 million.
By 25 years or 30 years, the metabolism is all set for development of diabetes, and by 35 years, metabolism is all set or upset for development of cardiovascular disease.
Among other proposals, the expert committee has also recommended the usage of traffic light labelling system to mark food high on sugar.
We need to create a consumer awareness for among the housewives, among the women, among the people who influences food choices, so that when a consumer wants to eat food, he has to be mindful of eating.
A concern that the food regulator is also trying to address is to see how they can grade traditional sweet and snacks.
We need to be working with small, halwai associations and food processors in the small and medium sector as to nudge them and facilitate them that they reduce the use of salt, sugar and saturated fats in.
While it is unclear about what kind of percentage will be imposed on food items with high level of sugar, packaged food industry worth about $60 billion is obviously not very happy. When Mirror Now contacted industry players like Nestle, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they refused to comment, saying that they will wait until the policy is implemented. Amita Balachandra for Mirror Now.
Well, that's the story, viewers, this evening, that we're considering the fat tax that the government wants to place on things that will make you unhealthy. Things that are packed like chips or colas with a lot of sugar and a lot of salt that could make you unhealthy. What it will effectively do is make these things more expensive. Now, unfortunately, in a country like ours, where a large portion of the population still lives below the poverty line, a larger portion of the population is lower middle class, the question is, what will you achieve by making food more expensive? Shouldn't the government instead consider making and forcing these companies to put healthier things on the table? You're allowing them to poison your people, but you're going to make money off it. Is the tax actually the solution? What will poor India eat? If you make a packet of glucose biscuits more expensive, how will the mother who puts one packet in the dabba of her child, what will she do then? Where will that child be able to buy his biscuits from? What you will do effectively is take it away from the people who need it the most. Offer them a better option. Do the job that you're meant to do as a government, instead of telling us one more time what we can and cannot do, instead of finding a way to make money off it. Yes, there are MNCs making a lot of money off the health of the Indian population right now, but shouldn't you do a better job of policing that, of regulating that, rather than just slapping a tax on it? I think it's the lazy way around. What will India eat? Also, I want you to remember something, that there is a terrible, terrible shortage of clean food in our country. If someone is out with their children on a particular evening, they don't want to buy food off the street, they will buy a packet of chips. It is the Indian alternative to street food. It's cheap, it's easily accessible, and you generally think that it's going to be clean. Where is the alternative? Make the food healthier. Don't make it more expensive, because we don't live in a country where we can afford to make these small things more expensive. That is my submission this evening. And I also want to know, if you're watching at home right now, what do you think? आप क्या सोचते हैं? क्या अभी चिप्स और कोला और बिस्किट के ऊपर गवर्नमेंट को ज़्यादा टैक्स लगानी चाहिए, या उन कंपनीज को ये बोलनी चाहिए कि इन सारी चीज़ों को हेल्थियर बनाओ? That's the question we're asking this evening. My phone number is on your screen. Joining me in the studio this evening, KV Sridhar, brand expert. Ravi Duggal is a health activist. Dr. Shashank Joshi is from Lilavati Hospital, has done a lot of research on this particular area. Syed Abbas is a motivational speaker joining us from Bangalore. Mr. Dilip C. Datwani is the president of the Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Associations in Western India. Mickey Mehta, Dr. Mickey Mehta is a global leading holistic health guru, joins us in the studio. Clyde Crasto, spokesperson of the NCP, Niranjan Shetty, spokesperson of the BJP. I want to start by speaking to Dilip Datwani. Mr. Datwani, I don't believe this is the right solution. I believe this is the lazy solution. The right solution would be to force people to put healthy things on the shelf.
I am with you 100%. I mean, the government only thinks about taxing. It's like taxing. You can't tax somebody and say, look, don't do it. Have they stopped the cigarettes being sold? No, they've not. Liquor? No. It's the most highly taxed item. So instead, offer incentives. Incentives for people to make a healthy option, alternative. Do that.
Offer incentives instead. KV Sridhar, I want to understand of yours, obviously from a brand point of view, and this is important to ask, there are massive MNCs making a truckload of money off our health right now, showing absolutely no conscience. They've displayed some conscience in the West with their arms twisted, but not in India. Shouldn't there be a better way to bring it to book? Because what we're doing right now is putting a tax that they will very happily pass on to the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, obesity is a disease of the rich. And the poor people who eat unhygienic food, you get access to little better hygienic food in the form of a packed food. So if you are going to make that far more expensive for people to have it, it is going to work against, not for it. And at the same time, if you are going to say that I allow somebody to make something and then I allow them to charge much higher because it is unhealthy, is a flawed logic. You know, this logic has been, you know, the fat tax has been followed in Denmark, and then Japan tried to do a lot of things around that. But everyone may fail miserably because you cannot control what people eat and don't eat. At the most, the responsibility of the government is to make sure, one, the regulations are intact, second, to educate the people and then make people aware of what they are eating, what they should be eating, what they should not. You can't penalize people. So that's the worst thing which you can never do.
Are you pro fat tax?
Well, you know, you have to, you know, kind of make people aware of the fact that, you know, all that you're eating, you should eat right. I want to, you know, kind of add to. I want to. Can't afford it. No, I want to add. No, but at the same time, is what I'm trying to tell you here. Is the same time, why burden the common man with these taxes? I mean, there are other ways of making sure they do not eat the wrong food. You know, you can have a lot of awareness.
Are you for it or against it?
I'm against it. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
You're against it.
Yeah, I mean, there shouldn't be these kind of taxes on the common man. I want to add to what the gentleman just said. You know, in Denmark, this fat tax was introduced in 2011. And it went down so badly with the people there. It was turned out, you know, in such a way that, you know, it was more for funding the government than less of the health initiative. So within a year, in about 2012, in November, they had to take back this tax. Now, I'll give you another example of a fat tax but introduced in Kerala. That the finance minister of Kerala, Thomas Isaac, was gone on record to say that this was, you know, what was happening was people were going towards junk food and less towards traditional food. So it was a more an initiative to bring people back to traditional food. So you're against it.
So you're against it. Three voices on the panel so far are against it.
You know, do these things, but you know, have to think of the right ways to do it.
Ravi Duggal?
Yeah.
Ravi Duggal is a health activist. I'm against the fat tax, Ravi Duggal. I don't think we can afford it as a country. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I think it's a contradiction to have something like a fat tax in a country where there are many people who don't get 2 square meals to eat. I mean, hunger and malnutrition or undernutrition are huge issues. And I think if the idea is to generate more revenues for the government, then, I mean, this is the wrong route to take. I mean, Denmark, which was the pioneer in this, I mean, has failed and then they have rolled it back. So I think if you want to raise more revenues, then have a different kind of a fat tax fat incomes. I think that's the way to go.
No, but let's ask the uncomfortable question. Ravi Duggal, obviously, the packets that we're looking at on our screen right now, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all of these companies, they're all putting out things that are not good for us. We have children in this country who are getting addicted to these things.
Yeah, so I mean...
Why isn't the government shaking them down? Why isn't the government asking these companies to be more responsible? Do we not want to upset the MNCs right now?
Exactly. I mean, we need to regulate the kind of food that is manufactured, or especially the processed food. And on one hand, the government says, I mean, come and produce whatever, make in India, whatever you want to make. And then on the other hand, you start bringing in these kind of taxes which have no meaning. So I think the government is not very serious about challenging the kind of, the junk food per se. I think it's basically just kind of a knee-jerk reaction, and I don't think they're very serious about it.
Niranjan Shetty, representing the BJP, is the government not serious about it? Is the government not serious about health? Let me remind our viewers, Niranjan Shetty, the government altogether spends 1% of our GDP on health. That is an abysmally low amount of money. Is the government not serious?
I feel, Faye, when you begin your show, you mentioned that it is like the government is trying to do the lazier thing on its part. I feel personally like as I expected my counterpart, Mr. Clyde, who was naturally, I expected him to go against it. Now, if you see, now as the other panelists spoke...
Clyde's going against it because of his political convictions, not because he what he believes in.
No, let me complete. So, other panelists who are there, and I think whatever I'll say ahead, Mickey Mehta, who's in health, this thing, we know that he will vouch for that.
For or against? For or against?
No,
you tell
I'm for it. I'm for it. Absolutely. Now, it's just in a proposal. Basically, now somebody said that it is trying to generate a revenue. It's not trying to generate a revenue. It is trying to act as a deterrent. Now, my government is trying to go ahead from one step from the all kind of, initially we had about the tuberculosis, malaria, and here we are where we are trying to make a healthier India. So basically, this way, by taxing so that people would eat less and consume less. So that is the concept basically. There is no concept
are you serious
of
in a country where there are thousands of children dying of malnourishment in this country? In the state of Maharashtra alone, we are talking about a tax to get people to eat less and stay healthy. Niranjan Shetty, we need to have some perspective
we are talking
on
about.
what we're talking about.
Speaking about the healthier foods.
So where is the healthier food available?
On the panel
Okay.
also said
I have a question
these
for you.
are about the obesity of the rich,
Niranjan Shetty,
not of the poor.
Niranjan Shetty,
So we are concentrating on
this is a government that pulled out eggs from the midday meal of children across the country because we wanted to be vegetarian. Okay? Now, we're obviously confused here on what is healthy, what is not. If you're going to take away the chips, but give them the eggs, give them the protein, give them the milk that they deserve, which they are not getting. So where are our priorities? Our priorities are all muddled, Niranjan Shetty.
No, I don't think so. I think you're speaking of one of the state which have stopped the kind of delivering the eggs, basically. But I think as a nation of the whole, I think in Maharashtra it has continued. So it's not that specifically
53,000 children are malnourished in Maharashtra.
So that's what I'm saying. Now we are speaking about the taxation on the junk food. We are discussing, like one of my, for a person who was a panelist, he said that it is the obesity is of the rich. And so we are talking about the children who don't eat such kind of things. So we want them to consider, of course, but isn't those who are rich are the citizens of India? Shouldn't we be concerned of those people?
Stop because of the taxation.
No, so will the rich stop?
So that doesn't mean that one of the panelists spoke about that we are generating a revenue. That isn't the mindset of the government.
I mean, the attitude towards health seems rather hypocritical at this point. Mr. Sridhar, KV Sridhar.
I think, there are two things. One is when you actually club all the processed food or the food with a lot of, sugar and saturated fat, you are talking about 99% of Indian food is that, whether it is samosas or whether it is vada paos or whether it is desi ghee laddus or whatever. So, and these things are manufactured in unhygienic conditions. So what will happen is this entire thing will thrive far more because you are going to regulate only the largest manufacturers. Largest manufacturers are easy lot because whatever rules you set, they obey. Whatever rules which you set, unorganized sector cannot obey. That is where the problem comes. That's very difficult to guard. And this warped thing about health, and then we will tax the rich, and then we will take this money and then use it for
poor. It's being selective.
Is going to bring in one more Pandora box. One way we are saying that no subsidies, and then we wanted to bring everybody into tax, and then second we will be encouraging people to sell under the counter. So I mean everything is not falling in place when you say that we wanted to tax for fat, we wanted to tax for sugar, we wanted to tax for something else.
So you think the government is being selective in targeting certain companies and not everybody?
No, but
is that what you're saying? One second.
No, I'm not saying targeting certain companies. I'm just saying that this is very naive thinking, that if you increase the price, people will stop eating what they are eating, rich will not stop, it will deprive the poor, and then allow them to go and then eat unhygienic
Clyde,
food.
I have a very simple question to ask you. There is a woman who takes her 2 little children out to chapati for the evening on Saturday.
I'm trying to tell you that.
What is she going to buy for them? 2 packets of chips and a little box of fruity. That is what she's going to buy for them. Now, if you make that more expensive, you are not affecting the rich, you are affecting the middle class, the lower middle class, and the people who use these things in the smaller joys of life.
If the government was talking only about the health initiative, you have to remember one thing: there's a large section of the population that eats at places called the cow gullies. The cow gullies in Mumbai or anywhere maybe they could different names in different states, but there are, look at the conditions in all these cow gullies. I mean, it's absolute junk food that has been cooked there. And if it was only
Clyde,
the health initiative,
I think we need to focus on the fact that this government spends a lot of time and energy thinking about what we can and cannot eat. Can we eat beef? Can we not eat beef?
Exactly.
Should the children be given eggs? Should they not be given eggs? It is an intrusion of your privacy. I want to bring in
Intrusion of choice. That's what is happening.
You can inform people, but people ultimately need
a lot
to have
of awareness
a choice.
programs can be taken up and enlighten people in what they should eat, what they should not eat.
Syed Abbas, and I want to point this out as an example. This is what Niranjan Shetty and I were talking about. A PIL filed in Gujarat asking why the National Food Security Act was not enforced in Gujarat. The state government of Gujarat responded to the Supreme Court saying there is no need to provide eggs to children as part of the midday meal. They have no need for eggs. Gujarat is a largely vegetarian state. Malnourished children don't need eggs. The problem is that we are constantly forcing our ideas on each other. Syed Abbas.
Well, absolutely, I agree with you. I think the kids and everyone, who are a part of the midday meal, they need to be provided with the equal amount of nutrition. Being a malnourished state, it's very, very important. Even if it is not egg, and if it is only a vegetarian state, let me tell you, there are other ways of inculcating protein in the diet. And now, most importantly, coming to this particular discussion, I would say I am pro, and let me state you why. India being the 3rd most obese country in the world, and also having 41 million obese people, I'll tell you what this fat tax does. In a certain way, if me or myself or my couple of friends would want to go out, this fat tax would discourage us in ordering any kind of fatty food. So if this way, if it can work, there's also a beautiful saying, "Laton ke bhoot baaton se nahi mante."
You're insulting people like this. You shouldn't be. I take objection to this. You cannot.
Please हमें समझाइए, Syed Abbas हमें समझाइए ये लातों की बूत और जो बातों से नहीं मानेंगे तो what is the lat you're referring to exactly here? Are you talking about tax?
Tax is related to tax.
He's supporting.
That's what I'm saying. वो tax ही बोल रहे हैं. लात मतलब tax. Tax मारते जाओ, लात मारते जाओ.
I will tell you what lats we are talking about here. 1 second. Give me a second. Syed Abbas, let me point out to our viewers that in this country, the salaried class pays anywhere between a tenth to a third of everything you make gets cut out of your salary before you even see it. After that, everything you buy, every service you use, every time you buy property, every time you touch or consume or use anything, you are paying more tax. And then there is a Krishi Kalyan tax, there's an education cess, there's a Swachh Bharat cess, there is a cess on a cess. Half of what we make goes away in tax for services that we do not receive. We don't have the roads, we don't have the water, we don't have the electricity, we don't have the playgrounds, we don't have children who are being fed. Most of the children in our country under the age of 5 do not get a decent meal. They are sick, they are starving, they are not being fed. Where is this tax going, and how dare you mention another tax in a country where we're already paying so much tax, not getting the services that we're paying for. When you pay tax to your government, you become a consumer of your government. And you then are entitled to the services that your government needs to provide. KV Sridhar, where are the services that we are paying for?
Absolutely nothing. You know, you pay so much of tax. Is there a social security for you?
Nothing.
There is absolutely nothing.
But in addition to that,
so,
this
I mean, the taxing is not an answer to everything.
For those who wish to eat,
education is the only way.
For the other
we became a nation where we eradicated polio, not by taxing anybody.
Yes.
It is just awareness, which actually brought in the change. And compare that to what happened that family planning at emergency time. Yes. Correct? It was quite a
like
different thing.
How we managed to get on top of HIV.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, our country needs a lot of nourishment. They need important ingredients like, iron deficiency. How are we going to supplement things with iron? Does not matter what food goes into a child's mouth. Are we putting enough things into that? Iron supplement and iodine supplement. If you look at the salt is the primary way the iron and
right. In fact, this is the, and I want to bring in Mickey Mehta and Ravi Duggal here. Mickey Mehta. Yeah. Now, while the proposal says that it will tax junk food, and we're all fairly clear about what junk food is, but I want to point out to our audience that GST doesn't clearly define junk food, and there is a vague mention of also Indian food. So desi ghee, laddus and gulab jamun. And the truth is, Mickey Mehta, I know personally that you are not against desi ghee. And the medical community or the health community is still has not decided whether coconut oil is good for you, desi ghee is bad for you, butter, things that we grow up eating as Indians. There's still some grey area. How can we be taxing things if we don't fully agree on this?
See, first of all, I'm very much for the tax because it's a deterrent. It's like making cigarettes very expensive.
But nobody stops smoking.
I'm very sure smoking has come down way too much than earlier. That's number one. Number two, look at Singapore when they started taxing cars on the road tax. Of course, the local commute, the city commute grew, and the cars on the road reduced. I would say tax the junk food and give the subsidy in medicines. I mean, there's nothing wrong in taxing. Of course, I don't want to endorse government's intentions here, but taxing junk food is welcome. Of course, don't tax desi ghee, for sure.
Why not? Because you believe desi ghee is good for you.
Desi ghee is not, it isn't junk, it is pure health. As per Ayurveda, desi ghee heals.
Yeah, on the roadside, if you start making unhygienic way the jalebis, isn't it desi ghee also becomes deterrent to your health?
Well, I really don't know whether they use desi ghee there, but I would say there are good healthy snacking options available on streets, on beaches also. There are groundnuts available, there are green grams available, there are bananas available, there's coconut water available, there are oranges available. So we shouldn't say there's dearth of snacking around. I mean, just because somebody is going hungry, we should...
An apple costs 5 times more than a vada pav, my dear.
Yes. Sorry?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is true. Health, and Dr. Joshi, I'm so glad you've now joined us.
Let's look at this to all...
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Joshi, we can hear you.
To all our... To all our respected panelists, I'd like to say we are not having a blanket ban on fat, food, any of that. There is no censorship here or of any sort. Everyone is legible to eat what they want to. They can definitely make a choice. But all I'd like to add to what Mickey is saying is, all we are doing here with this tax is just discouraging people. If this minute percentage of tax could be levied, and if we are able to control or stop people, discourage people from consuming fat food, I think that would help in a great way. Just think about it. There is no ban on fatty food, there is no censorship, there is nothing of that sort. It's only a small minute way to discourage people.
No, but there are other ways. There are other ways of doing it also. We could create an awareness among people.
Let him finish. So you're saying it's not a ban. I want to bring in Ravi Duggal here. Ravi Duggal, here's my concern. And I'm still coming from the part of me that is aware of the fact that there are thousands of children across our country that do not get a decent meal every night and they go to bed hungry. What we will do by making food, any food, more expensive in this country is punish those at the lowest part of society. We will take away the food from them and we will then give it to the rich. And I think that is a very dangerous thing to do. Yes, by all means, like you've done on cigarettes, put a big skull and crossbows on a chips packet and say it's not good for you. But if you want to eat it, it should still be available to you at 7 rupees or 10 rupees. I think making food expensive, Ravi Duggal, is very dangerous in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because food, I mean, if you look at the bottom 40%, they spend 60 to 70% of their income on food. So you're going to add to their burden. Absolutely, I'm not for such a tax because it can be an interim measure. You may use it temporarily to fund the health ministry, but I don't think that's the right solution. The right solution is to invest more in healthcare, in health education, make people aware of what options they have for healthy diets and food, and that's the way to go, and not to use taxation as a mechanism of getting people to do that. So invest more in healthcare. We are spending only 1% of our GDP on healthcare, which is from the bottom, we are at number 5 globally. So let's go at least to 2.5% of GDP, which the 12th plan had promised us. But we're nowhere close to moving towards that if you look at what has happened to budgets at the central level and various states. So we're still at a pretty low level. So unless we strengthen primary health care and through which we provide good health education to people, you will not be able to solve this problem. I mean, taxation is no way of dealing with changing eating habits of people. And because it's going to encourage a whole lot of things that we are seeing, meat ban and this ban. The state has no role to play in what food people want to eat or not to eat. So
in fact, I want to bring in now Dr. Shashank Joshi, who joins us right now. Dr. Joshi, Syed Abbas made an excellent point. He said in most of the countries over the world, actually traveling or taking your car into Singapore was taxed, and then people stopped doing it. But they were given an alternative. In London, you are taxed when you take your car into the city centre, but you have the trains that you can use. You have the buses that you can use. This is also an argument that we have when it comes to roads in our country, but that's a separate debate. Dr. Shashank Joshi, where are the alternatives? Where are the healthy alternatives of midday meals? Where are the healthy alternatives of fresh meals available for children in our schools? Before we tax things, shouldn't we provide them with alternatives? And shouldn't the government take the hard road, which is to ensure that the food on the shelves are made healthier instead of just made more expensive?
So I think let me make a couple of things very clear. I think the first thing which you need to know is that it is not what you are saying is correct. Junk foods are, first of all, you need to know what is the definition of a junk food. Junk foods are not necessarily the foods which are consumed for midday's meal or the ones which have to be given for undernutrition or malnourishment. We have our own indigenous produce which is locally available, which is easy to access and affordable. That is by no means junk food. Junk foods are commercially available foods either from organized or unorganized sectors which are harmful, which have harmful substances like trans fats as well as substances which have addictive potential, which are excessive in salt or sugar or excessive calories. And because they have an addictive potential, just like tobacco, they need to be curbed, because then you are having the explosion of obesity or diabetes. It has nothing to do with depriving undernourished children and their food being deprived. These are ready-made solutions which necessarily are not safe, and therefore there is a red flag on it. And therefore I do not agree that by deterring them you are actually depriving some undernourished kids. So that's the first fact. Secondly, there is an overall lack of nutritional education among all sectors, and we need to educate and have appropriate nutritional labeling so that the consumer at large is educated what he's eating. What we are doing is we are eating too much, and we are eating too much because we have a craving tendency, and these junk foods are fueling this craving tendency, and that needs to be curbed. Taxation is just one deterrent, okay, but overall there has to be a movement. In fact,
Absolutely.
many people have even called for banning some of the junk foods. For example, if you go to New York, you get zero trans fat foods from whether it's a restaurant or whether it's otherwise. So we need to ensure that we enact things which are healthy options. And also remember, do not link healthy options to price. Now remember, price is a very different entity altogether. Also, if you tax, it definitely becomes a deterrent to the growing urban middle class, which is the one which is actually suffering from these non-communicable diseases. So we are actually sowing the seeds of non-communicable diseases in our country in these adolescent growing children. The bigger factor is that they are also hooked on to devices and various other things, and they are becoming sedentary. So actually it's a dual jeopardy.
Right. In fact, the question that I have to ask KV Sridhar,
excessive calories through junk foods is actually leading to this.
Very well put, Dr. Joshi. I agree that perhaps there has to be more information being made available. Everybody agrees that the Indian public is not being informed about how dangerous it is to consume the things that come in packets. But KV Sridhar, tell me this. Instead of informing us, if we just make things more expensive, will that actually be a deterrent? Because I think everyone on the panel agrees there should be a deterrent. Will that be a deterrent? Can we work it the different way? Where if there are foods like Dr. Shashank Joshi pointed out, indigenous...
It will be a deterrent. It will clearly be a deterrent, because what will happen is that the middle class or the newer age class, that is the class which will get hit, and that is where the excess consumption will get restricted, because ultimately everything boils down to the purchasing power. And therefore, if you restrict that purchasing, at least the quantum will be limited.
We've seen evidence of that in tobacco products.
That logic does not work. That logic does not work. If you are addicted to anything, if you want to eat anything, you will eat. Because you are talking about 13-year-olds to 17, 18-year-olds. They will eat what they want to eat. Only thing which is there in our hands, even as parents, is to make our children,
so therefore,
everyone aware of what is nutritious, what is not nutritious, what is good and what is not good.
Dr. Joshi, I have this question for you. I agree with what you're saying. I have this question for you. Can we, in some way, make the healthy options, the natural options, tax-free, and then make them more accessible? So people have a choice there, saying, you know what, I will not take that, but I will take that because it's good for me,
could be
and it's
solution,
cheaper.
But I remember one thing. Remember also one thing. So what is good for you, what is healthy for you, what is green for you, necessarily may have a tax incentive. And remember, sometimes the reward or punishment model doesn't always work. And this appears to be very dictatorial in its policy. But for behavioral change, sometimes small measures are necessary. I am not saying it is a solution at all, but something is better than nothing. And therefore, when you try to restrict something, also rewarding something which is healthy might be an option.
That's the root cause of any kind of habit formation. Because the mothers bribe their children to do homework so that they will eat a gulab jamun is the bribery. So reward is never, it works against not
so the carrot and stick is not something that you go for. Shrikant, one second, Mr. Sridhar. Shrikant is on the phone line from Nasik.
So again, this is again very poor quality of education. A gulab jam is not a healthy food, and therefore it is a carbohydrate bomb, and they need education. These mothers need education on nutritional knowledge.
So here's my question. I don't want to digress too much into what's healthy and what's not.
Rather than propagating this
but I don't think Mickey Mehta was in full agreement that gulab jamun should be taken off the shelf completely. One second, let me bring in some voices. Dr. Joshi, let me bring in some voices. Shrikant is on the phone line from Nasik. Shrikant, go ahead, we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. This is Shrikant from Nasik.
Yes.
This is government's intention is not clear yet. I feel that there may be positive things or negative things. Positives can be they may impose a tax for countering the diseases like diabetes and obesity, maybe, or imposition of the additional tax on foods with added sugar and salt, saturated fats may prevent other persons or people, healthy people, consuming that junk food. Either consumer awareness should be there.
Consumer awareness should be made available. Alternatives should be made available. Francis is on the phone line from Mumbai. Francis, go ahead. We can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, Francis, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Faye, good evening, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I thank all the panelists that are there. And I would like to comment especially on, Mr. Shetty's comment stating that, that food should be taxed. He doesn't know the reality of the people living in Bombay, the poorest of the poor. He still doesn't know the number of people that are dying on the streets. We pick up at least about 300 to 400 people dying fully malnourished in the streets of Bombay. They are not aware of it. They are well fed, they get good food in their canteens, they get everything. Hence they have got, they are so idle there, and they are just thinking about putting in some wrong, rules into the people's life and making life difficult.
All right. So Francis says that you're making people's lives difficult. Niranjan Shetty, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah. Mr. Francis, I think I live in Mumbai city itself.
I
have not come across any single malnutrition.
This is a very clear example.
Malnutrition, death due to that, or any malnutrition issues, at least in Mumbai city. And as far as you are saying the taxation is not a solution, I think I would go by the thoughts of what Mr. Shashank Joshi has mentioned.
Dr. Joshi, yes.
And also, Faye, I would also like to respond to the taxation kind of, you asked the number of taxation, Krishi tax and various kind of cess. I would only like to respond what it was because of the past experience that you have been stating that you are not getting this service. It is not because of the present government. I am saying the present government is much more concerned about the health of the people.
Let's
and
focus.
That is why,
I would just
that's why.
No,
So,
why is it? Okay, now Niranjan Shetty, you brought it up, I did not.
No,
The
fair
present
enough.
government, the present government is
it.
spending 1% of the
I just wanted
GDP
to
on health.
interject here
The
that-
present government in the state has cut the health budget, the public health budget, by about 700 crore rupees. None of this was necessary. If the present government is serious about health, then we can go into public health status, we can go into the status of the public hospitals, we can go into the status of the conditions under which the doctors are working, but that's not the debate. I want to go back to Dr. Joshi. Dr. Joshi, you pointed out that what Francis is saying is a common misconception that people who are hungry should not be fed this food at all. Junk food is not a solution for hunger. Then shouldn't this food be banned altogether if you're telling us that it's an addictive substance?
So I just want to clarify to Mr. Francis and a lot of people who have this myth. Yeah, I completely want to clarify this. This is a very big myth. Junk food has nothing to do with feeding food to underprivileged people. They are totally different. Junk food definition, I think most of these people have not understood. And the ethos behind taxing the junk addictive foods is totally different. Ready, easily junk foods are harmful substances which should be ideally not fit for human consumption, and it's just a matter of a couple of decades when they will not exist and we will have healthy options all over. When the food industry becomes more sensitive, it's a matter of time,
why shouldn't, if you're saying they're not fit for human consumption, why are they available at all?
But till that time, I think the problem is no children are dying because we are taxing foods. These foods have nothing to do with the commonly available foods which are much easy and economical. For example, groundnuts are not fast foods and they are not going to be taxed, and you can have groundnuts for protein health, and pulses and cereals which are regularly consumed. They have nothing to do with junk food.
Dr. Joshi,
so therefore, I think what Mr.
I
Francis is saying is completely misconceived and misconstrued and misleading and is inappropriate.
Okay, Dr. Joshi, I have two questions for you. I understood what you said. You said that these packaged goods are not fit for human condition, for consumption. Peanuts are, which I agree, peanuts are fantastic. My question is, if we have a food safety authority in this country that certifies things that are safe for consumption, Why is it that, according to you, we have so many articles on the shelves available at such cheap rates that are not fit for human consumption? Then, why did they receive a license to begin with? Shouldn't they be taken off the shelf entirely? How is taxing them a solution? You are telling me that they are unsafe, that hungry children should not be fed chips. They should not be given colas. Then take them off the shelves. Why are they available at all if they're poison?
No, 1 minute. Let me clarify a couple of things. Children, see, again you are mixing hunger and hungry kids which are underprivileged with fast foods and junk foods.
So children
which are available
children.
On the
If
shelves,
I have a hungry child, should I give that hungry child chips?
So let me make it very clear. I think, ma'am, you are absolutely not having ground reality check at all, and I do not agree with this preposition. The first thing which I want to clarify is that the FSSAI now is very sensitive on the food labeling as well as food approval. And in the good old days, it was very easy to market anything, whether it was locally produced or made by large commercial houses, and market it. Currently, we have little better food labeling laws. We have a better and strict claims. They cannot even make claims the way they advertorially make. So I think we are on a learning curve for better health movement.
We can get an answer. My
having
question
said
is,
that,
if I have a hungry child,
this is very preposterous to talk that hungry children do not get food because you are taxing junk food.
You misunderstood my question, Dr. Joshi. Dr. Joshi, my question is, if I have a hungry child who happens to be my own child, malnourished or otherwise, should I give that child chips? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Occasionally.
No.
No.
You can have better options. You can even give
so
a banana.
So then take the chips off the shelf. Then ban the chips.
That's what she's trying to say.
So Mickey Mehta, if the chips, if the cola, if the junk food...
Because chips have an addicting potential
and
they are not good for health.
You know, you must ban...
why are they available?
You must ban booze first,
cola
you must ban cigarettes
13 teaspoons of sugar.
Before you begin to ban
that child will get addicted and will get obese and will get diabetic in the future. Okay, so you need to recognize that by giving cola and chips, these are harmful substances in the long run and you need to curtail them. These are artificial Western imported things which are spoiling our economy of the health and ultimately will bankrupt our nation through diabetes and obesity in the middle age. So we need to ensure
why are these things available on the shelf then? Why are these things available on the shelf?
Which is being inculcated.
Yeah, because booze is available on the shelf.
Correct.
Cigarettes are available on the shelf.
But cigarettes are not sold to children, Mickey Mehta. Chips are sold to children. Colas are sold to children.
They give you death, but they're still available. So
they're not available.
As I said,
cigarettes are not available in school canteens.
Also, Faye, let me tell you,
2 years back,
Faye, gentlemen, please hold on.
1 second, Dr. Joshi, 1 second. Dr. Joshi, 1 second. Mickey Mehta, go ahead.
Faye, it pains to see me, there is a McDonald's bang opposite my house. Children from lower socio-economic background, every morning from 7:30 to evening 8, throng there and eat inexpensive burgers, inexpensive colas, inexpensive fries.
Why does it pain you, Mickey Mehta?
And that is bad.
Why does it pain you?
It certainly pains me because the culture has changed. The same children were having upma, poha, etc. earlier, and now because they are available so inexpensive, they are consuming it all and it has become a fad. It's become a fashion. And this certainly kills over a period of time. It is not poison that will kill you immediately, but certainly, yes, over a period of time, if consumed, it will give you bad health. They are not healthy in nature because they don't heal you at all.
I think, we should be very clear. I think we should be very clear as a people. The health of our children, and I agree with Dr. Joshi here, I agree with Mickey Mehta, the health of our children is not something we can compromise with. We should be very strict about the health of our children. KV Sridhar, then in that case, given what we hear on the show, McDonald's should not be sold to children. Cola should not, like cigarettes, you should not sell it to anybody less than 21 years of age who cannot choose for themselves.
I think there are three issues we are just getting mixed up.
There should be like a warning signal. Like tobacco smoking kills. You should have a similar thing that eating fast food is injurious to health. Do you know one thing that British Heart Association
Mr. Sridhar, and then Dilip Datwani.
Samosas are injurious to heart.
Yeah, I think
1 second, Dr. Joshi.
Mr. Sridhar. I think we are talking about 3 or 4 different issues. One is about the children, malnourished children in our country needs better nourishment. No denial of that. That is one issue. The second issue is so-called junk food, which is debatable. What is junk food and what is not junk food? Junk food. If you feel that everything which is processed, made outside home or outside organic waste is junk food, so be it. Let's assume that is junk food. Somebody is allowing them to make, somebody is stamping that and then saying that it's safe for people to eat, and then somebody is allowed to sell them, and then somebody is actually buying and then consuming it. It's a process. The third one, the reason why you are saying fat tax is we are concerned about the health issues of people. And obesity is a matter of many different things. It could be your DNA, lack of exercise, your food habits, and your lifestyle. If you are saying that your lifestyle needs to be changed, then the nation needs to actually embrace a different kind of education, how to keep yourself fit. And then the second issue, the middle issue of what is junk food and then what is good for the health of the people and what is not good for the health of the people. There are ministries and then there are people. Why are they allowing somebody to make it and then make it impossible for them to sell it?
Yes. I know that Abbas had a point to make. Abbas, very quickly, go ahead. I'm running out of time.
Sure, very quickly, to all my respected panelists, I'd like to make a point here. Very importantly, there's no tax on proteinaceous food, there's no tax on nutritious food, there's no tax on good food. This tax is only on junk food, and it's not a ban on junk food. You're allowed to, in this free democratic country, you're allowed to eat what you want, consume what you want. It's only a tax on a certain kind of food, which is not healthy for us human body. So I think this, I know it's going to be a slight bit percentage, but this will definitely discourage. As a form of exercise, pattern and classical conditioning, this would certainly at least have a thought in the mind that it's become more expensive and therefore they need to deter themselves to go for it. Even if it's able to do a slight bit of percentage of the billion population.
Dilip Datwani, do you agree?
We're talking about taxing. Why can't you give incentives for the healthy alternatives? We're just talking about taxing. Every time you want tax on something or the other. Why don't you offer some incentive instead for a healthy option, healthy alternative?
We aren't opposing that. We are just welcoming the tax.
We are opposing the tax, sir.
The tobacco products have not proven that a tax is a deterrent. Tobacco products become more expensive every year, and it is we're not seeing a slowdown in the sale of tobacco products.
Faye, you'll be surprised if you see the graph. Certainly, smoking has gone down worldwide.
Worldwide.
Absolutely.
Not in India.
No, it has gone down. Please look up the sales. Ask ITC, they'll tell you.
Okay, very quickly.
Very quickly, I want to tell you, the fact that why I'm stressing there's more, it's very important to have awareness than taxing is because, if you make people aware that pizza eating is not good for your health, they may not go to, Domino's, but the same pizza can be made at home. So if you make them aware that pizza eating is not good for you, or burger or a vada pav is not good for you, they will not do it any which ways. By taxing them, they will make it at home. So the junk food still goes into your system.
But taxing
so most
is
important
a way
is to
of awareness
make you aware of the fact.
Taxing also brings awareness. It's not.
Just taxing is not going to be aware. You need to tell them what is good to eat and what is not good to eat.
Understand what Dr. Shashank Joshi spoke. He spoke about the indigenous
because again,
food.
It won't be as tasty as you get outside what you can make inside.
No, but the same kind of ingredients go into the pizza what you give outside and at home. So why don't you understand this awareness? What is good food and what is bad food is more important to tell the people. Tell them what the good foods are.
Ravi Duggal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think deterrence works because it's not worked as much for tobacco or, I mean, cigarette smoking may have gone down, but tobacco consumption, gutka, etc. has gone up, and children also get access to that quite easily. So I think deterrence is not the solution. The solution is to look at more positive dimensions of promoting nutritious food and finding avenues to do that, rather than going out and taxing food which is already taxed a lot and the poor spend a lot of their money. I think we need to, if we need to raise revenues, then we need to increase the tax GDP ratio by taxing fat incomes instead of bringing in a fat tax on food.
I don't think that's
I agree. And taxing fat income of everyone.
We don't have wealth tax in this country. We don't have inheritance tax.
Not just the salaried who get paid TDS into their bank accounts, but taxing fat incomes of everyone. I agree with Mr. Ravi Duggal.
I think government is doing a good job. We should appreciate it for a change.
We asked at the beginning of today whether the government should levy a fat tax. 54% of the people on our Twitter handle said yes, 46% said no. But I want to point out one thing, that if the government was really serious about trans fat, about the dangers of it, as quite rightly pointed out by Dr. Shashank Joshi on this panel, then the government would be very clear to segregate the poison from that is that is actually fit for consumption. Do not allow something that is that dangerous to be sold to our children. It's available in school canteens. It's available across the street from every school, outside their gates, at every shop. That do not allow the burger companies and the pizza companies to market selectively to children. Do not allow them to release ads telling children that this is fun and this is happy and this is cool. Do not allow them to put toys in burgers and Happy Meals and specifically target children and sell to children. Show that kind of responsibility. Just like you have taken away all advertisements from cigarettes and from alcohol, you do not allow it to be marketed. You do not allow it to be sold to children. Cigarettes are not allowed to be sold anywhere near the radius of a school. If this is really poison, and if you take that seriously, and if you really mean to help the health of our children, then take these steps. Do the tough work. Don't do the easy work and just make more tax on it. Show us that you're serious. Thanks for watching.